Hello and welcome to the Tucker and Crowley Report. Franklin Tucker, senior editor of the Belmontonian, is with me once again, and I'm Mike Crowley. And I do want to remind viewers that any opinions and views expressed on this program are not those of the Belmont Media Center, the town of Belmont, Verizon, or Comcast. They are those of myself and Franklin Tucker alone. All right, so Franklin, let's start with the first story. Tell me about the town fields.
And when we're talking about the town fields, we're talking about the playing fields, and also playing fields such as Townfield, Grove, Payson Park, PQ, all the ones that are in everybody's mind. Also the Harris Field at the high school,
Yep.
along with all the basketball courts and tennis courts and the Underwood Pool. They're all maintained by the DPW. Now, while the DPW does as much as it can with very limited manpower, I believe they have only 4 people who are there to maintain these parks. What's happening is that these fields, especially and particularly the ones that are behind the middle and high school, the new Brendan Grant baseball field, the really beautiful softball field, and the multi-purpose field. What has been discovered is that they're just worn out already in the first year. I mean, it's
Franklin, how can that be that we would have? I mean, we're talking about in the case of the new middle and high school building, we're talking about some new fields.
Brand new. This is in the spring of this year. They were inaugurated, and they had their first playing year. And well, what happened is, according to the DPW head, Mr. Marcotte, they weren't built correctly. They weren't laid out correctly, and not enough maintenance is being done for them. There's not enough nutrition. It's just not, the maintenance is just not to the up to the scale that needs to be done, and that goes for all the fields. We have the fields are the problem with the fields is that they're just overused.
Right.
They just there's a limited number of maintenance that you can do. So many fields. And they're just used by everybody, youth organizations, people with dogs, and what's happening is they don't get enough rest.
Okay, so not enough. The fields don't get enough rest. There's also, we don't have enough maintenance resources, and in the case of the fields at the new middle and high school building, some of them weren't built correctly. I do want to ask you real quickly, is that an issue for the middle and high school building committee in its final days?
Well, apparently, this has been brought up. No, everybody's been asked the same question: isn't there a warranty on these? Shouldn't these be built to a standard? What I could get from the by explanation is that we used up our warranty. It's not being done. It wasn't done. We didn't have enough time, or on that warranty. It's just a little confusing. I know it's being looked at again by town council, but right now it looks like we're stuck with these fields that may not be ready for the spring season, and probably not, because if we look outside, it's winter. There's not going to be anything that you can do right now to make sure that those fields are up and running, and we shouldn't just concentrate on the fields over at the middle and high school. All our fields, Grove, you just need to go to these fields, and you can see that there are situations where there's actual animal borings in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
And of course, because they're grass fields, they're just being attacked by geese at all times, especially the ones over in the high school, and that's because they're next to Clay Pit Pond, which is a natural area for the geese. We have to look at and I know that the solution is now that they're going to set up a new committee to determine what the maintenance would be. They're going to get a lot of buy-in from youth organizations and from residents and from everybody else to decide. They're going to have a system where you're going to take a Grove, like let's use an example, a Grove Street playground where you have the baseball field, which is doing well, except they have a little bit of a drainage issue. but the soccer field, that's going to have to be for an entire year. It has to be taken offline. It's just going to have to be, removed. And
So,
right now, I mean, the reason these fields are in bad shape is because of overuse. There's not enough fields for all the school and projects that they want to do.
I also want to ask you this question, Franklin. So if the plan is to set up a new committee to come up with a plan,
Mhm.
Isn't that the responsibility of the DPW to
DPW is just, they just don't have the number of people who can do it. So what's going to happen is that
but I'm talking about the plan itself, and if you set up a citizen committee, would that committee have the expertise to develop a maintenance plan for the fields?
I think when I was talking to Mr. Marcotte, the DPW, he believes that there is.
Okay.
He believes that there are people who he already has in mind who do a great job in determining how you use these fields. How just to have a plan. If you put a plan, if you have a field that goes offline, it has to have a certain amount of drainage. It has to have irrigation, nutrition. And it has to be done in a certain way. And I think if you just do that and you just get a buy-in from all the people, it's something that it's something that can work. But there's also that pushback that you're going to get from let's say some youth sports that say, oh, we've maintained these fields, we want these fields out there, and there was one funny,
or they want access without interruption.
That's right. And there are residents who want to use the fields, and there are dog owners. And there's a funny line in one of those. One of the dog owners said to a person who said, "Yeah, we got to stop you from coming here, because we have to let the fields go." And he says, "No, I'm a taxpayer, and my dog's a taxpayer." So, an actual quote. So, you're going to get pushback. You're going to get people who just will go like, "No, I'm not going to follow this. I'm going to go on the field." So it's gonna have to be this way. Other towns have gone a different direction. If you look at Lexington, all their sports teams, they're all on turf fields. They have parcels of land that they can do this, but all soccer and lacrosse and field hockey, it's all pushed out maybe half a mile from Lexington Center. Winchester does the same thing. A lot of communities are doing that. They're just saying, look, we're gonna have enough fields for youth and high school participation. But you're not going to get that. I mean, I talked to one person on Grove Street. I said, why don't we just put a turf field on Grove, so you could have this really, a youth oriented? And she goes, absolutely not. You'll never get it. We will never allow that to occur. All right. So we're going to have to go through a very long process. It's going to be very costly, and I understand that, well, a turf field is a lot less maintenance. The upfront costs are just, outrageous. $1 million for Harris Field just to put a new rug on that. How much is it? It's going to cost the same thing at Grove Street, and we just don't have the money.
Okay, so we'll have to see how things develop with the planning effort around maintaining the fields that we have. All right, so Franklin, next up, let's talk about the planning board and some of the things that they're going to be tackling in the coming year.
The planning board came to, before the select board, and Taylor Yates, who's the chairman, was very proud of what the planning board had done, especially when it came to the I forgot already what it's called. The mass communities, the MBTA communities law that passed overwhelmingly. And as Elizabeth Dion said, who's the chair of the select board, it's probably the highest percentage of a yes vote at any town meeting who's voted on this. And I think what people are what Taylor was saying is that for the year to come, it's going to be a more proactive planning board. They're going to be doing let's see, it's going to be more. They're going to go towards streamlining the permitting process and focusing on pro growth benefits for the town. It starts off by I think the first thing that we're going to do is going to be the accessory units, the auxiliary units,
The accessory units
accessory units
by right.
by right, which would allow grandmother what they call grandmother or grandparents units, either next to the house or above the garage, as I always had in another town I was at. They're going to also look at parcels of interest, and they're going to allow the Vision 21 committee to help do that. And they're going to be working with the Conservation Commission to look for open space. So they're looking for a more let's start building. Whether it's commercial or residential, it will depend on what the market really stands. It also discovered, they also made a distinction between by right and special permits.
Yeah.
And and emphasize the need for just certainty and reducing risks for developers. They want to say, look, you won't have to go through the special permit, which is a much drawn out permitting process for certain parcels, and I think they believe that because they did a lot of community engagement, that will be something that they will continue, and from the success from the MBTA communities. There's also a little thing that happened at the select board in terms of this also, and that is the beginning of the master plan. They're going to be
this is the Belmont master plan.
The Belmont master plan, which is basically an outlook of what 10 years from now, what it's going to look like. It's going to take about 18 months to do. It's what they're really trying to do, and this is what the consultant who they're talking to develop this. They're looking at it, like I said, maybe 2 years less than maybe 18 months. They would like a little longer. What they did say is that they want a lot of buy-in, but they also want people just to connect with it. They don't want this to be an amorphous sort of process. They're thinking about like a motto, certain colors that would go associated with it. I was wondering if they were going to have like a sports costume guy who would be out the Belmont master plan or something. Hey, join us while we're doing these public meetings and stuff like that.
So I do want to ask you about the master plan. Does that fall within the purview of Vision 21, or will the select board manage that process?
It's a select board, really. It's a process where they want to know what the future of Belmont's going to look like, and they want to put it in a direction, and that really comes up to the select board. It's something that most towns have. Yeah. It's something that really has helped a few towns, especially on the North Shore, really change directions. Like from post manufacturing to residential and other ways. So master plans are important, but they have to be done with a lot of buy-in. But also a lot of thought has to go into it. What do you want this town to look like in 10 years? And will there be parts of a golf course that could be built for commercial real estate? But I will also say there is one thing, and that is an overriding theme among the planning board and the select board and master plan is hotels. I would not be surprised to see effort made by the town to try to seek a hotel of some sort to come into town as quick as they can.
Maybe for the Pure Coat site?
Okay. I didn't say that.
All right. Okay, so Franklin, let's move on then to talk about winter sports, which is starting this week.
Oh my God! You thought the fall sports were just around the corner. We had the field hockey team that almost that got into the quarterfinals, and we had a not so great football match for Thanksgiving. But now we're right back into the winter season, and it was because we had 1 week less in terms of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was so late that you couldn't start the next seasons until after the Monday after the Thanksgiving. So these guys, so all our teams are ready to go this week. I think league play starts on Friday, for basketball, and hockey on Saturday, and there's swimming and also wrestling. I think wrestling will be very interesting. There's a number of really good young wrestlers that we have, both male and female. We have a divisional state champion. And one of the young ladies on the wrestling team.
Okay.
And we're looking for the basketball teams to do a little better than they did last year, and the hockey teams are always really great.
Okay. Is that it then for winter sports, Franklin?
That's right. And we do. I just want to say that we really should congratulate all our student athletes, because it takes a lot to be. To go out there and study and then go out for 2 hours and do basketball and stuff like that.
It's an amazing thing, and we are proud of them.
Yep.
All right, so thank you, Franklin, and as always, you can find more of Franklin's reporting at belmontonian.com. Be sure to tune in next time, and we will see you then.